Hello YouTube, this is 3SP. I'm coming to you with a couple of articles. This first one is from the AP. The latest, utility says it will take weeks to restore power. St. Petersburg, Florida, the latest on Hurricane Irma. Florida Power and Light says it will be weeks, not days, before electricity is fully restored because of the damage being done by Hurricane Irma. Spokesman Rob Gold said Sunday that an estimated 3.4 million homes and businesses will lose power once the worst of Irma reaches the Florida mainland. He expects thousands of kilometers of poles and lines will need to be replaced, particularly on the Gulf Coast. He said 17,000 restoration workers from as far away as California and Massachusetts are already stationed around the state. But it will take time to rebuild the system. The utility covers much of the state, including most cities on the Atlantic coast and the Gulf Coast south of Tampa. It does not cover Tampa and St. Petersburg, two major cities in Irma's forecast path. Now, right there, this hurricane, and just like the last hurricane, this is taking out major cities right now. So, just like Houston was taken out, it's still underwater today. And who knows when people will be able to return to their homes and life as usual will be able to happen. And in my opinion, God is trying to tell us something as a nation. He's trying to get our attention. And I know scientists say it's a lot to do with sunspots and sun flares. And it's a part of a cycle which happened in 1982. We had a similar hurricane pattern. But just seeing the way that everything's going in our nation right now, this is God trying to talk to us. And maybe things like this happen in cycles and God tries to speak to us in cycles. I'm not sure. Trump calls for tax reform speed up in light of Hurricane Irma. Washington. Reuters. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Saturday that he will ask the Republican-controlled Congress to further speed up its efforts to overhaul the U.S. tax code, citing the potential impact of Hurricane Irma as a reason to hasten reforms. I think now that what's happened with the hurricane, I'm going to ask for a speed up. I wanted a speed up anyway, but now we need it even more so. The president said at the time outset of a cabinet meeting at Camp David. The White House released a video of his remarks. Trump urged Congress in a Friday tweet not to wait until the end of September for a tax legislation. Now, one thing I could comment about what's going on with our tax system, I don't really think we need to heighten the tax ceiling for us to take care of this current situation that we're having in the United States, where it seems like we're about to have one natural disaster after another. Just like I seen in a report earlier showing that the San Andreas fault line is in danger of basically quaking for about 350 miles going through every major city in Southern California because of a 8.2 earthquake that happened in Mexico. Then also there's the earthquake shelf line along the along Washington and basically the whole West Coast there, where it seems like the whole West Coast right now of the United States, earthquakes and a giant tsunami that could take waves all the way to Japan. The West Coast has it in, and it's way past due for what's been predicted for years by scientists and seismologists, that all of the West Coast is supposed to get major earthquakes. It seems like that's been delayed to basically line up with what's happening now. Plus the amount of earthquakes have happening around Yellowstone State Park. We know that Yellowstone is a mega volcano, and these earthquakes can cause it to rupture. Again, is all this stuff happening at the same time for a reason? Then us constantly trying to work out so we don't go into war with North Korea. And China already told us, if we attack North Korea first, that they'll back up North Korea and they will fight us with the full force of their military and their capabilities. So that's just one nuclear bomb away from every nuclear country on Earth deploying their nukes. That would be the end of human existence. And again, this is what's happening at this time in the world right now, along with these things that are being warned to the United States. Plus, Harvey, the name for Harvey, means warrior ready for battle. Then Irma is a Greek word for a Greek goddess that means goddess of war. So she's the goddess of war. These are two natural disasters which are pointing to a major war. Is this God trying to speak to us? Again, that's my position on it. Is the flying car ready to take off? And as you see this picture, there's these car-sized, what I would consider them airplanes, but they're car-sized flying vehicles. A little white-winged pod lifts itself off the ground and glides off into the distance. The whole movement looks effortless. It's like watching Luke Skywalker's land speeder, except we're in a nondescript airfield in Germany. Echoes of Star Wars perhaps help explain why last week the pod maker Lilium secured 90 million or 69 million euros investment from, among others, Chinese tech giant Tencent. Although the company states its aim has more to do with solving transportation problems. We have highly congested cities, and we can do things to improve matters, said William Romero Gerber. We're trying to move from a niche transport vehicle to a mass transport one. Lilium is not flying solo. Prototypes by rival ventures are also passing their test flights. So the prospect of flying cars may not be all that far away. Here are 6 projects working toward bringing back the future into the present. And I'm not going to read these, but if we are about to move to flying cars, I really hope that they are guided by GPS, that they're actually controlled by GPS systems. That's one thing I'm actually against with automobiles, is that I don't want to see self-driving cars being the norm. I would like us to have freedom in transportation. But being that as it may, seeing how terrible people are drivers on the ground, I would definitely hate to see those same drivers flying a pod. But I'm pretty sure they would not leave that capability to regular civilians who are untrained in any type of flight school. I'm not sure. I'm not really confident that this is going to be as mainstream of a thing, at least not in my lifetime, as it's making it look out to be. Now, these are the first steps toward this technology being mainstream. But again, I really doubt that this will be my lifetime where these will be normal, to just be flying from your house in a pod wherever you go. I think cars have a really strong cultural grip on us, and they won't go away anytime soon. Now, with my last article, this last one is dealing directly with Donald Trump's presidency. And this one comes from the New York Post. We may be witnessing a turning point in the Trump presidency. Keep these numbers in mind: 316 to 90 and 80 to 17. They were the lopsided votes in the House and Senate in support of the deal President Trump made with Democratic leaders on storm aid, the debt limit, and government funding. Remarkably, all the no voters were Republicans. The numbers shout that we are witnessing a potential turning point in the Trump presidency, one that could further shake up Washington and rattle the calcified political parties. Frustrated by failure of GOP majorities in both chambers to pass his agenda, Trump followed through on threats to work with Democrats. Signs suggest it was not a one-off deal, as the president already discussing other topics with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Hurricanes Harvey and Irma helped spark his decision. Trump was clear that, especially on storm relief, he wanted fast, bipartisan action that reflected the way ordinary Americans were helping each other, especially in hard-hit Houston. With Irma aiming at Florida and the Southeast, the president recognized that the public would have rightly viewed political squabbling during national emergencies as an infuriating failure. Still, the circumstances didn't stop all the GOP grumbling, with some Republicans astonished that the president from the party had accepted Dems' terms on the debt limit to get a quick deal. Not surprisingly, Trump was hardly apologetic, firing back on Twitter. Republicans, sorry, but I've been hearing about repeal and replace for 7 years. Didn't happen. A reference to the failure to overturn Obamacare. He also issued a warning on tax reform, tweeting, Republicans must start the tax reform tax cut legislation ASAP. Don't wait until the end of September. Needed now, more than ever. Hurry. That's an ambitious scenario, given the hyper-partisan atmosphere in Washington and the cultural and political chasms across the country. But at least the president is proven in the short term that it is possible to get things done, and to get them done quickly, a point he emphasized by signing this legislative package as soon as it reached his desk. Naturally, the prospect of bipartisan approach alarms both ends of the political spectrum, with leftists angry at Schumer and Pelosi dared to even talk to Trump, let alone make a deal. The attitude is both a cause and effect of the gridlock that has gripped the Capitol for the better part of 2 decades and turned compromise into an insult. And I'm going to leave that there. And I seen another article yesterday where the title basically insinuated that Trump was the first independent president. And this is something that you really have to understand. In the year 2000, Trump announced that he was going to run for president, and he ran under an independent label. He dropped out of the race, but that's a great reflection of his actual politics, that he is an independent. He wisely chose to run under the Republican label because of the 2 terms that already happened under the Democrats. And statistics show that you don't really go past 2 terms in the political party. So he did the wise thing and ran as a Republican. But again, he's not a Republican, and you could tell by the different things that he wants to do in the different stands. And basically, you could definitely tell because of how much the Republicans are standing against him. They're treating him worse than they treated Barack Obama. But at the same time, he's not a Democrat. And it's clearly obvious he's not a Democrat because he's not a left-wing extremist. But because the Democrats have gone so far left that just because he identified as a Republican, that they're going to attack him till the bitter end. But now that we're seeing he's starting to get more progress with the Democrats now than the Republicans. And the thing is that most of the Americans now that voted for him, a big chunk, the silent majority, they don't feel connected to either party. And I was one of those people. I voted for Donald Trump, and that's because I was a Democrat for a very long time. But it felt like the Democrats were betraying their own country. And within the last couple recent years, I've seemed to move more right, but I'm still not a Republican. I still see myself more down the center. And it seems like this is where we're getting to now with Donald Trump, that he's moving down the center now to try to get things done because the people of his own party are fighting against him. So I don't blame him. I don't blame him for cutting deals with the Democrats. But it's time for things to change in America. And this is a part of what I'm pointing out, that there's so much changing right now. Politically, environmentally, religiously, things are changing. Technologically, things are changing. We're even getting warnings from Elon Musk and even Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin himself said that whoever creates artificial intelligence first will be the ruler of the world. That's the point we're at now. We're in so much turmoil now that any one event can cause the destruction of humanity. If it's natural disasters compounding upon each other, or if it's us going into civil and nuclear war, it seems like it's going to happen. Will we even make it to this technological nirvana that we're shooting towards? Who knows? Humanity has to get past all of this. And that's why I'm going to leave this. This is 3SP signing out.